Hashtag sub to Lou. Let's go.
And then he gets off stage like, look, bro, I got like 100 followers.
So all right, guys, this is the Power Hour podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in and hanging out with us. We have Jeremy Montoya, Andrew Arriaga, we have Brad Lewis here. I'm Jeff Smith. And of course, we have Pace Morby hanging out here.
And we have a live studio audience.
Yeah. 300 people watching us. 300. Andrew can't count, but that's fine. This is something we've been really excited about for a really long time. Pace has obviously been very impactful in all of our lives with the Sub2 membership, the community, and really the culture of Sub2 that Pace created, which draws in so many people. So if you're watching, if you're not in Sub2, listen to this man talk, and come talk with any of the four of us if that's something that you're really interested in. Pace, thank you so much for taking the time to come hang out with us.
I mean, I'm glad that we're doing it in a hotel room. This is great.
Yeah, we want a spot where there's going to be less noise and people knocking at the door and all that stuff. Yeah. So obviously we've been running the Power Hour podcast and just Power Hour itself in Houston since January, and you've obviously been a huge supporter of that and helping us figure out how to grow that. And
you guys have done a great job, phenomenal job leading the industry in that. I mean, think about the people that are even big names in the industry. They're not doing anything that's impactful. So you gotta take that and understand that. And the hardest thing about what you're doing too is that the majority of your benefits won't show up for a very, very long time. And that is, honestly, creating a podcast, creating content, putting yourself out there, really isn't about the podcast. It's about the personal development that is required for you guys to continue to get more eyeballs. And you'll wake up one day in 2 years and you're like, that podcast changed me. Spending time with these guys changed me. And so if you look at it just from that perspective and never worry about viewers, never worry about eyeballs, the eyeballs will come. But it is hard. My first podcast I ever did was a call-in phone podcast. And in order to ask a question, you had to press the number 6 in order to ask me a question. And one day we had like 21 people on the call. I was like, yes, dude, 21 people. And it's a different world now. So keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, and Power Hour has obviously impacted all of us.
I think we had that one same call to Pace, and I think it was you who reached out to him and was like, oh, there's 30 people here.
Yeah.
And Pace was like, no, bro, you got to get to 100. Yeah. And I'm just like, yes, let's do it.
Probably 40 to 50 people plus everything.
Yeah, we had that one time where we had like 100 realtors out.
So that was wild. Jeremy, start us off.
Yeah, again, thank you for coming. Appreciate everything. I guess one of my big questions I have is most people like your type of level where you're at, they usually start to distance themselves from like the community they built. And just from seeing, other people that are going to like where you're going, we all know you're going to be a billionaire.
Yeah.
And what makes it you so different that you still like contribute to the community? You're still spending like family nights with us, like 4 hours, like you're here with us right now.
I think the biggest sacrifice I made last year or this year was I traveled to 110 cities to visit our community. Right. So like family night is one thing and doing all the other Zooms is one thing. But I can tell you the answer to your question is because the vision was always that I'm only a member of the community, not the leader. And from the very beginning, even if you go back and you watch the Zooms, the first Zoom we ever did, I said, guys, you don't even understand where substitutes are. I had 18 people on that call. And I knew it. I drew it out. I planned it out. Right now we're in phase 8 of a 26 phase vision. Think about that.
Yeah.
We're already leading the industry. I walk into a room with you guys and I'm constantly pointing people to you. People come up to me, they go, I want to join Sub2. And I go, don't join Sub2. Go spend time with the community who's already leading the industry. And you guys go, this was part of the vision too, was watching you guys. You didn't have faces in my vision, but you had big muscles and tattoos like you have now. I was envisioning you, just didn't know what your face looked like. And the vision was going to a seminar that I'm speaking on stage, getting off stage and pushing people to you guys because you know more than the people in that room. And that has already happened. And it's impressive to watch. So first and foremost, it was always part of the vision. And one collective community can never rely on one leader. You have to rely on the entire community, right? All the way down from, hey, do you have sugar I can borrow so I can make these cookies? all the way up to, hey, I need $100,000 to complete this transaction. The number one thing I see people miss that are missing in a seminar or ballroom like that is the lack of connection and community. And in my vision, I was looking at, what do I really want to do? And what I really wanted to and desired to do is be friends with the community, not be a mentor-mentee relationship. I never wanted that. I wanted to be a friend to people. And so I'm only doing what I wanted to do. Whether it's the right answer or the wrong answer, it is the right answer for me. And other people, the influencers, like, man, I can't believe you're this crazy. You're so open. You let people come in your house. I mean, Jeff's been in my house a handful of times. And yeah, and people jumped off my balcony and they're like, you let people in your house? I'm like, well, yeah, they're my friends. Why wouldn't do not let your friend? And you're like, no, those are your students. Please never talk to me. And look what, history tells you. If you want to become a billionaire, what do you have to do? You have to have a lot of friends, but more importantly, specifically about those friends, is you have to create at least 1,000 million. In order for me to be a billionaire, I have to create 1,000 millionaires. We'll already do that. Like inside of Sub 2, we're already creating millions and millions of dollars of people. Like, look what Elena Tang's done. She's never even called a seller. She's got 26 rentals in like 24 months. People go their whole life to go and get 10 rentals, right? She never had to call the seller. Why? Because we have great, dominant, heroes in our community like you guys that will find the deals. You know your avatar. I'm a deal finder. Then she knows I know my avatar. I'm a buyer and I want to buy that deal. But if you look at just the equity that's grown in her assets since she's bought them, she's become a millionaire just by sitting on assets. So think about how many people inside of our community are going to have that. We're all going to be multi. We're going to be deca millionaires. Everybody in our community has the ability to be a deca millionaire way easier because of the connections, because of the community, because of us all being so close together. And so it was always part of the vision. It was never anything else.
Love it.
Yeah, it's good.
Brad,
Brad,
that's great. Yeah, I mean, thanks so much, Pace. To piggyback off the community, I mean, what would you suggest to people who walk into a room that's new, they're uncomfortable? Because I know when I first joined the Power, I was scared. I sat in the back. I didn't make a call. I didn't do anything.
He made
So-
his first call in
Because the first rule of Power Hours, you have to make a call. And I looked at Brad. I'm like, Brad, have you made a call? He's like, no. So I grabbed Brad, and everyone's trying to take a picture.
We're trying to wrap it up, right?
Trying to wrap it up, and I'm like, no, we're gonna go make a call. So we go to the bathroom. We of course didn't make a call. Agent doesn't answer. He's like, all right, I'm done. Boom, leave. No, I call twice.
Well, one thing I learned is learn your avatar. And making calls is not my avatar. But what would you suggest to somebody who walks into a room it's filled with a big crowd and they're new, they're lost, they're just getting into it?
Okay, so this is an interesting thought process. So if you don't mind, we can understand that everybody's on their own journey, right? And what I see people doing is, let's say that you start your journey today and you look in front of you and there's 10 paths, right? One's like Airbnb, midterm rental, this, that, and the other, multifamily, small multifamily, large multifamily. I'm going to be whatever the avatars, transaction coordinator. We can go on and on and on with all these different avenues, right? And so people's biggest issue is this. They look at, if I choose this path and 6 months later I look over at the other guy that chose a different path, they look at that person with FOMO and they look at that person with shiny objects. I look at that so differently. I look at that as all of the experiences, relationships, resources, and skills that you are picking up on your path, and I'm picking up on my path. At some point, our paths will converge. And all of the things that you gather through your path of maybe being a TC or being a capital raiser, or multifamily person or whatever, at some point, I walk into a room and instead of me looking at a room full of people, I look at a room full of 400 people who have been on a different path than me, who have acquired skill sets, relationships, resources that I have not done yet. And they've lived their entire life. This is a weird way to think about it. They've lived their entire life in servitude of my path. How is that? Well, Andrew, who's already overcome a lot of those things, he has that skill set in his backpack. So you come into that room and you're sitting here going, oh my gosh, what do I do?
it's not what do you do, it's who do you talk to that has the skill set to basically even out your teeter-totter, if that makes sense. Because your teeter-totter is like, I haven't done this thing before. Great. He has. Jeff has for years. He's gangster, right? So these guys all have a backpack full of resources that you can leverage. And so when I look in a room of those 400 people last night at the HostCon, I look at 400 people with invisible backpacks on, and I'm like, how do I unzip that backpack and pull resources out that I can leverage for my own good or for somebody else or whatever else? And so just think about that a little bit differently. When people come to Power Hour for you guys, they should be thinking the same thing. Like, just because I haven't made a call before doesn't mean that that's a problem. In fact, it's great. I've been on my own journey, my own path. That person has done that. I can leverage and cut my learning curve down by a year or 2 years just by being in proximity of the people who have done it. That's what I would think. So don't beat yourself up and don't think like you have to go and gather all the resources of how do I overcome every seller? How do I overcome every objection? How do I overcome every little thing? Dude, it's who has done it? How can I pull it out of their backpack and how can I collaborate with them? I mean, your first phone call would have not have happened if it wasn't for Sub 2 Drew, right? So there's the answer.
Am I next?
Andrew's up.
All right. Oh, so I don't really have a question. I
I love
the thing that I have is no, I have a question, but I don't want to ask that question. I love how you I love it. I love how you tell stories, and I think you tell a lot of stories that are really impactful for me. So are very impactful for a lot of us, right? So I really want you to tell a story, if you don't mind, about one of my favorite stories that you have. This is a bookshelf story that you have. Do you mind sharing that story? You're in Utah. You're in
with my
Utah
brother?
with your brother. You're in Utah. Bookshelf. It's one of my favorite stories, and the reason that it's my favorite story is because it's so impactful for me. You tell a lot of stories, and I go back and I re-listen to them over and over again. And it's kind of like the book, what's that book? Think and Grow Rich, right? Every time you read it, you have a different perspective on it because you're at a different point in your life. So this story that hopefully you can tell, and the reason I want you to share this story is because it's impacted me multiple ways. And so the how deep this story is and how well you tell it, I want our audience to hear that because a lot of people haven't even heard of the bookshelf story. I mean, I think I've talked to several people about this story.
I've told the story one time. You must have heard it. I've told it twice. I told it once on stage, and when I speak on stage, I try and speak differently. Like I love Ed Milet, but I'm a different speaker, right? Ed Milet is like he's going to tell you the one story. Anybody heard it multiple times? Okay. And for a lot of people, you need to hear that story 85 times, like to remind yourself and hammer it in. So I understand why he tells it over and over. I'm just a different style. And my style is I want to read the audience and I want to figure out what that audience needs before I go speak on stage because I never want that just means that I'm not in tune with who I'm speaking to, in my opinion, personally. So I told this story on Kent Clother's stage 2 years ago. It's so interesting that were you in the room or did you hear me? Okay. So that was spoken about. Somebody was in the room. They asked me to speak about it one time on Sub 2 Family Night. And I told the story on Sub 2 Family Night way shorter than I normally do. But here's the story. So I'm a junior in high school living in Mesa, Arizona. We have a family of 12 children, same mom, same dad. Parents say, hey, we're moving to Utah. Oh my gosh, I'm so distraught. I've got a girlfriend. I've got best friends. I mean, I've got a job that I'm making $300 a week at. And when you're 16 years old or 17 years old, $300 a week. 24 years ago, I was balling out of control, dude. Like, holy moly. I could go to like Applebee's and like Olive Garden as many times as I wanted. So my parents make a departure up to this house in Utah. And it just had 2 little rooms, okay, for how sizable our family was. And what happened is we move into this house, we get all settled, and we're all kind of choosing each other. We're choosing our rooms, right? As kids do. You're running around the house choosing rooms. Well, my brother Chance ended up having to be relegated to the downstairs basement. Like there's this living room in the downstairs basement, as a lot of basements have. They have like the main common area and then a couple of bedrooms off to the side. Well, why did he have to go into the living room instead of having a room? Well, we didn't have enough rooms. And it was told over and over. Well, my mom would say things to my dad like, man, if we just bought a house with a bigger room, or more rooms, if we bought a house with more rooms, my dad's like, what do you expect? Like, I found the best for what we have. We're fine. Chance can live in that living space and whatever else. Well, the weirdest thing ever, there was this spooky door There was a really, really spooky door. And we just assumed it was the door that, from a basement, a lot of times you have an exterior like walk out from the basement. It's like the closet, right? And you're like, okay, that's the exterior door or whatever else, or it's a little closet. It doesn't make sense. And so we move in, we start getting settled, and that door was locked. The door was locked. And so here's what ended up happening. Instead of like calling a locksmith, my dad was just like, screw it. Let's just, it's a stupid closet. Nobody's ever going to use it. So what they did instead is they put a bookshelf in front of the door to kind of hide where the door was. It was in the main living area where Chance was downstairs. My bedroom was down the hall. Corbin's bedroom was down the hall. And I'd walk by this door 1,000 times, right? But somebody put a freaking bookshelf in front of it because they didn't want to look at it. And the whole time, my brother, for literally 2 years of living there, was like, why don't I have a room? I'm the oldest kid in this family. Why do I not have a bedroom? Why do I not have a bedroom? Well, we move out of the house. Okay. We move out of the house. Years and years go by. I'm with Laura maybe like 4 years ago. And I'm in Utah. And I go, we used to live there. I used to live at that house. My dad bought that house subject to, actually. And I was like, let's go and talk to the lady. Actually, what I was doing is I was making a YouTube video in front of the house. And I was like, this was right when in the very, very beginning of YouTube. And I go, this is where I got my creative finance start. My dad's been doing this since I was blah, 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 blah. And I didn't really know. And And the lady comes out and she's like, can I help you? I'm like, oh yeah, my family used to live here. And she's like, oh my gosh, do you want to come and see what the house looks like now that you've been gone for 24 years? I'm like, hell yeah. So we walk through the house and she says, I go, yeah, man, this house is so amazing. And I'm kind of telling my wife about it. And I go, well, it has, 6 bedrooms and 4 bathrooms. And she's like, no, it has 7 bedrooms and 4 bathrooms. I go, oh, you must have added a bedroom. And I go, and she's like, no, we didn't add a bedroom. Like everything was here. I was like, no, I remember my brother did not get a bedroom because I had my room. This person, everybody had their own rooms and bunked in. And my brother lived in the living room in the main living area downstairs. She was like, where did you go? She kind of maps it all out. And I go, I'm downstairs. This is that. And then my brother Chance, she's like, why didn't he just take the bedroom that was like right off the living space downstairs? I go, that's not a bedroom. That's a closet. And she goes, let me show you. So we go downstairs and the door's open. The one that had the bookshelf in front of it. The door is open. It's the first time in 2 years, or I lived there for 2 years. First time in my life, I actually saw that door opened. And I walk in, I'm like, it's a bedroom. What the freak is going on? And my mind was blown. And I go, how did you find out this was a bedroom? She's like, we called a locksmith. It had a bolt on it that was really hard. Like you couldn't rig it. You had to call somebody. And this just highlighted to me over and over all the things that I learned from my parents that were unspoken lessons and spoken lessons I learned incorrectly. And one of them, it was so interesting. We, so many times in our lives, we have a very simple solution that we just don't make a call or we just don't fix. And we will let a problem remain in our life for years because we simply just won't do the thing we know we should do. And my dad, I remember my dad just like, oh, it's a stupid closet. It's a stupid closet. It's a stupid closet. It's a stupid closet. My brother would complain and complain and complain. It literally, like my brother's identity at that house and his resentment towards my father still to this day is subconscious in my brother. It's like some trauma that he felt like he wasn't the most loved child because he didn't have kids have trauma over stupid shit. And it was all because my dad would not call a damn locksmith. And he just was like, no, I'm not going to touch it. We'll put a bookshelf in front of it. So anytime I have a problem that persists in my life, I'm like, what doors am I putting bookshelves over? What things am I covering up? Whatever it may be. It could be taking my wife on more dates and I'm making a justification for how busy I am. It could be I'm not making enough calls. I'm not being enough consistent. I'm not having enough consistency. One thing that I'm currently dealing with right now is hiring people before I have a job position really clearly laid out for them because I'm excited about accomplishing the thing. And then what happens is I find myself 2 months into their employment. Okay, this is how it lives in my life as a 40-year-old man. I will hire somebody that I want them to do these things. And I go, okay, this is what I want to do. I'll whiteboard it out. I'll spend 2 hours on the vision. And I'm like, we're good. Here's your job. Boom. And then 2 months later, I'm like, I'm not getting what I need out of this person. This person sucks. And so I sent a message to this person and I go, hey, like, what can I do to help you out? And they were like, could you just line out the job description for me? So like when I have questions, I can go back and reference it. I'm like, I gave you 2 hours. I did this thing. And internally I'm sitting there, oh shit, I sound like my dad. I'm not doing the little important thing of creating a job description and a title, because as a business owner, I don't have a title. Titles are not important to me. But people who are employees, they need a title for their identity. And so I put up a bookshelf of like, I'm just going to do a whiteboard thing. I'm not going to take the 45 minutes it would take to create the thing, because what if the job description changes? Okay, well, I'm not going to let that stop me. I'm just going to hire the person. I'm losing money on this person. They're getting resentment towards me. I'm getting resentment towards them because I simply didn't sit down and go, job description, measurable KPIs. This is what success looks like. Here's what you do and here's what you don't do. It would have literally taken me 45 minutes. And because of that, for 2 months, I put a bookshelf over it and I lost tons of money and also a relationship with a great employee. Instead of calling a locksmith. Instead of just calling the damn locksmith. And it's interesting, like, it also is interesting. Does anybody else have ringtones on your phone? I love ringtones on a phone.
That's mine.
Oh, it's just secondary. It says money phone. So, anyway, the story goes on about my own personal guest house, and you can't figure out how to push the buttons and stuff like that. You have to pass it on to somebody else. So it's interesting how people, there's 5 fears in life, right? The fear of failure, fear of embarrassment, fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, and then fear of success. And why do people, ask yourself this question, why do people not just solve their problems? Why don't they just solve their problems? We all have problems. We know exactly what to do with our problems, right? We know how to solve them. No, here's the true answer. If I solved all my problems, then what would I complain about? People get addicted to complaining about their problems. You watch your parents do it. You then have evidence that problems should just be really hard to overcome instead of just calling a locksmith. And sometimes, like the locksmith for me, I remember like last night. Okay, here's a good example. This morning, I tried to have an egg downstairs. Good luck. I'm like, I just want an egg. And then people are, hey, can I get a selfie? Can I get a selfie? I'm like, bro, I just want to have an egg. I haven't brushed my teeth yet. And y'all want to have a selfie. So I'm trying to have an egg. And this guy comes up to me. He's like, yeah, man, I'm really struggling to get a deal. And I go, perfect. Tell me what you've done consistently for the last 30 days to get a deal. He goes, well, basically I said, okay, let me guess. You've been possibly thinking about getting a deal.
Picking up the phone.
Right. You know what the heaviest object on planet Earth is? That's the heaviest object on planet Earth, right? It's so heavy. So I said, do you know how to become world class at anything? He says, how? And I said, spend 18 minutes a day on it for 1 year and you'll become 95% better than anybody else. Yep, Jesse Itzler said this. And I was like, interesting. So think about what are the things that people do 18 minutes every day that have not done a deal yet. And so I did this thing a couple years ago and I said, if anybody inside of the Sub2 community thinks that they've been consistently doing whatever their avatar asks for, right? Whether it's a transaction coordinator, a closer, or whatever, if you think you've been consistently doing that every day for 30 days and you have still not done a deal or gotten involved in a transaction, I will fly out to your house and I will watch you for a week and I will take notes. And at the end of the week, you're either going to pay me $10,000 for lying to me, or I'm going to pay you $10,000 for lying to you. And I go, any takers? Does anybody want to take me up on that offer? Let me watch you for 8 hours a day for 7 days. And so when I say that I said that to this guy this morning as I was eating an egg, and I ironically thought about the locksmith story. I was like, bro, you already know. You just need to call the locksmith. You need to just you need to open up the door. You know what you need to do. You just don't want to do it. He's like, yeah, but why? And I go, because you are comfortable, or it feels good to blame everything but yourself. And so, it's one of those things. Where am I blaming? Where do I have problems? I send a voice memo to Cody Barton, one of my partners, and I said, where do I have blame in this company? There's numbers that are not being hit. Where's my blame? Where are my locked doors where I'm not doing the thing? And he goes, here's 12 things I wish you would do better. I was like, thank you. And then I'm like, boom, 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 delegate 4 of them, do this. Hey, I delegated 4 of those. I got these 3 done. I'll work on the other 7. Right? Because I understand the locksmith story. It's like, get the bookshelf out of the way. Don't let your problems create an identity for you. And we all have those things.
That's why I love. That's why I really, really like that story a lot. And it even till this day, like everyone has problems in their business. You have a lot more zeros behind your bank account than what we do, but we all have the exact same problems. And I love that story so much because it embodies the problems are never going to be done. I think when people get started, they think, oh man, once I get this level of success, once I make this much money, my problems are going to be done. But you've said it multiple times. Your problems just get bigger, dude.
Yeah. I tell people all the time, the problems you're avoiding today are keeping you from solving the problems of tomorrow. And I don't have a problem with problems. I have a problem with the same problems. Like, how boring is your life if literally you are trying to solve the same problem every day and you just haven't called the locksmith? You haven't picked up the phone. You haven't done the thing. You know what's fun is being the master of your own destiny and just going, that's scary. That phone's really scary. But you know what? What would it take for me to become so good at it that it becomes part of who I am? And when I make a phone call to a seller, people go, Pace makes it look so easy. I'm like, because I've done it thousands of hours and put so much time into it to the point where you actually start craving the thing you used to be afraid of. You're only afraid of it because it's the fear of the unknown. That's it. And so, okay, that's a weird equation too. What if I know that the reason I'm not successful is because of the fear of the unknown? Okay, great. So that's it. That's all it is. Okay, so let's just find out what that looks like, right? Like jumping off the balcony at my house. It's like, yeah, it's a little scary, but once, yeah. But once you've done it, you're like, okay, that wasn't bad. Maybe for some people are like,
or you'll be like me and you want to just jump backwards, go backflip
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Just straight into it.
That's it. So there you go.
So this is a really good theme that we're doing here. And so my question is, in my own journey, I don't have 26 phases lined up, but I have a few things. So this is kind of expanding on where we're going here. As I want to level up to that next one, and so for our audience, like whether it's multifamily or land development or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. How do I put together what that level up looks like? How do I start to identify the people who can help me level up? And how do I efficiently get the information, resources I need to make that level up happen? I was talking with this about Sam Singh a couple weeks ago when he was in town in Houston. This is something we talked about a lot. So I'd love to hear your take on that too.
Yeah. So for everything that we want, there's a price that we have to pay, right? So if you write out what you want and then you look at what you think the price is that you're going to have to pay, I call it the invisible. There's a lot of invisible items that people just don't see. People are like, oh man, I see you everywhere. You do this. How do you do this? How do you do it? I'm like, what you don't see is actually the 90% of work that I do that nobody gets to see. That's the invisible, right? And that's what leaders do. It's what you do as a leader. And I'm on a flight about 8 months ago, and it's a private plane. Somebody came and picked me up to take me to Vegas for the day. And they said, hey, we want you to do this thing for us for the day. We'll pick you up in our jet. And so I get picked up and they pick me up. They fly me to Vegas, but there's 3 other people on the plane. I don't know these 3 people. And honestly, I was like, wow, I'm in over my head. Like this guy that I'm talking to is across from me. I won't say his name just for privacy stuff. He's one of the people that's behind the people that get the deals done. So he says, I go, what are you doing? He goes, well, I do a lot of things, but one thing that I'm working on right now is I'm getting the Anaheim Angels to leave California to go to Vegas. I was like, oh, where's that mentorship? Like, wow. He goes, yeah, I'll probably end up making like $200 million on it when it's all done. Like, and I'll have, residual in perpetuity, probably about $1 million a month in perpetuity for the rest of my life. And I'm like, wow. And so I said to him, I go, man, I feel so lucky to be on this plane where have you been my whole life? Like, why has it taken me so long to meet you? And he says, well, have you recently had some personal development breakthroughs? Have you done this and done that? I go, yes, actually, I just had like this paradigm shift, this thing breakthrough. I hired this guy to coach me on this thing. I saw this problem. He goes, perfect. I find that the way I find myself into people's lives is they have attracted me from recent paradigm shifts or personal development. Now the universe has allowed me to enter into their life. I was like, wow, what an interesting thing. And then he went on to talk about all these stories about all these people. He says, when I'm working on myself, my personal development, right? My levels of understanding in terms of leadership and what a company's supposed to look like and systems and processes and all that kind of stuff. He's like, magically, you start finding these people that you need in your life, not through traditional means, right? Because a lot of people go, how do you hire people? I go, I don't really hire my key players. Like I hire employees, the team, like the base level team members, but I attract the leaders in my organizations from my own personal development and my own personal communication style. And also, most important Bible verse, in my opinion, is I'm paraphrasing, but without a vision, the people shall perish. Right? Does anybody want to pull that up? Type that in. Say, yeah, Genesis. So type that in real fast and let's pull it up so people know. Type in without vision, people perish, Bible verse. Google that. And I look at that and I go, 99% of people, Jeff, will never have a vision. They're not meant to have a vision. Right? You are a guy that's meant to have a vision. And what happens is people are attracted to people who have a vision, right? They need a clear leader and because you have the gift of foresight, you're a sight seer, right? That is a gift that God, the universe, Buddha, whoever it is that you believe in, maybe the Texas Rangers, if that's what you believe in too, I don't know. But yeah, oh, you guys don't like oh, you like the Texas Rangers?
My grandma loved them.
Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Got it. Did you find the Bible verse? Okay, so vision is one of the most important things in articulating that vision over and over and over and over as many times as you possibly can. One, to manifest, but two, other people start grabbing a hold of your vision and going, you see things I don't see. How do I help you build your castle? I want to be a part of this grand vision. And the larger the vision, the more people you will attract. Right. And this is why the president of the United States is actually so important. Does he really control things? No, he does not control things. We already know this. Okay. So other third party interests run the country essentially. But where does the culture of our country come from? Is the vision of our president. If he's presidential and he's sharp and he's articulate, we as a country start feeling like we're sharp, we're articulate. That's our guy. That's our freaking guy. Right. And so where our country has gone in decay is the lack of vision and the lack of follow through. So for you, in order to level up, it's the invisible items of personal development, casting your vision over and over and over, articulating that vision as many times as you can so that you can hear it out loud. You know how many times I say stupid stuff and I'm like, I thought it sounded good in here, but I let it come out and I watched people react to it and I go, oop, I got to change that. Oop, I got to change that. Oop, I got to change that. Seinfeld, how do you tell a great joke? Hey, Dave Chappelle, how do you tell a great joke? Hey, Dave Chappelle, how do you fill out an audience? How do you fill out an auditorium and then a stadium? How do you sell out a HBO thing? You go into the freaking bellows and the belly of New York City and you go to a freaking open mic night and you test your jokes 100 times and you get feedback. It's the invisible. So are you doing the invisible items of casting your vision and throwing it out there and saying it, speaking it to an existence, and then watching people's body language to go, ooh, I don't like that. Or, oh, I like that. Right. And then you can change it. It might take some time. The vision of the community, right? We all can collectively be a part of that. And then you can all also have your own individual visions for your own self, et cetera. But together, this is like our own little real estate country, so to speak. That vision took me 5 years of articulating before I even had the opportunity to cast it to somebody that actually wanted to help me do it. It took 5 years. And thank God it took 5 years. Because everything worthwhile should be hard. If it's not hard, everybody's going to be doing it, right? But shiny objects are only good for a short time because once they shine, everybody sees them and then it becomes competitive. So I'm grateful for things to be hard. I'm grateful that things take a long time. because it allows you to work on your personal development and become better and better and better and better. So it's an ambiguous answer, but hopefully it's specific enough to know. You have to take that, what I'm saying, Jeff, and go, internally, I know what that means. Have you written out your vision? Do you know where you're going? Even if you don't know where you're going in 10 months, or I'm sorry, 10 years, do you know where you're going in 10 months? Clearly. And more importantly, you put it on paper. Have you articulated it to other people? Even if those people are not meant to build your vision for you. Oh, I'm going to do this. 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 You know what magically happens? People freaking show up out of the middle of nowhere. Out of the middle of nowhere. My greatest leaders, I can tell you right now, okay? My greatest leaders, some of the best people on my team. Molly came out of the middle of nowhere. Jade came out of the middle of nowhere. Taya came out of the middle of nowhere. Giselle came out of the middle of nowhere. Like every single amazing person that runs my organizations and does my things, they came out of the middle of freaking nowhere.
You know, the amazing thing about this is, you know, everything you're describing right now, like these three guys here, several people over here, they showed up because we originally, Regina's who's over here, as well as the other Houston leader, and now Andrew's the other one, is these guys and gals showed up because of the Power Hour vision, and then they totally bought into it.
Yep.
And now we have this great community, and we have these guys, these people who are now the leaders because of exactly what you just described. And it's interesting you talk about, like it's something I've talked with. I talked with Sam Singh about this, Creighton Bertrand. I'm going to go meet Mindset Marlin over in Phoenix in a few weeks and talk about these kind of things. But it's interesting you brought up that whole saga because that's exactly how Power Hour has grown and developed. It's exactly what happened. All right. Thanks you for telling that. Do we have any questions from YouTube?
Let me just say, as they might have a question. So I get text messages from people on a daily basis, right? People on my team. And I had a girl named Alyssa. You guys know Alyssa in Sub 2? She does TC work. Okay. So she's awesome. Came out of the middle of nowhere. Okay. And Alyssa, it was one of these things when I was writing that book, I know myself. Do you know yourself is a very important thing. So when I was writing that book, I go, I hate writing a book. It's not my, writing a book is not my style, but you know what is my style? Oh, cool. So you have a question. Cool. So my style was video. And I was like, you know what I want to do? I want to create a video companion guide for the book because I don't love books. I just don't, right? Other people love books and reading and taking notes. That's not my learning style. My learning style is leaf blowing and mowing the lawn while listening to a podcast. That's my style, right? So my video companion guide, which is in the very, very back, it's like second to last page. That video companion guide, I go, you know what I'm going to do? Is I told Bigger Pockets I won't write the book unless they let me do a video companion guide, which is right there. And they go, okay, great. And I go, okay, well, I also want a live studio audience. And they're like, what? No, we want it more like produced. We want it to be like scripted. I was like, you don't script this, man, right? Know thyself. Yes, know thyself. Know thyself. Don't try and fit me into I'm a round peg, square hole. It's not going to work, or vice versa. And so I put together a live studio audience. I went to the Sub 2 community. I go, who wants to come and hang out with me in my studio in Arizona? And I'll do, each day will be a different chapter and 10 different students. So I can get to know the community. I can spend time, back to your question, Jeremy, like, how do you do? I'm like, that's all I want to do is hang out with our community, right? So Alyssa's in that room one day and she's asking these great questions. And I was like, man, where'd you come from? Can I hire you? Can I put you on my team? And so a lot of this, like what you're talking about, Jeff, is you cast a vision, you do the things, you put into action, you show the universe that you're serious about whatever you wrote down. And the universe goes, oh, he is serious or she is serious. I'm going to now start feeding things into their path because that's what they're starting to manifest. So the universe responds to what you put into it, as we already know. It's the weirdest, stupidest thing because when you're starting out and you don't have proof that that's a real thing, you just think it's hocus pocus, and it's not. So Alyssa sends me a text message in a group thread with all the girls. We have like 14 girls that run all my companies because I only trust women. Men suck. So
Clearly.
yeah, for real. So Alyssa says something in this group thread that really helped me keep going, gives me permission to do the same thing you're doing and same thing everybody else is doing. Is you have to, she says, thank you for casting a vision so large that our own visions can live inside of yours. I was like, damn. I was like, that's so good. And she says, you're dreaming so big that you're giving us to our dreams to live inside of your dream. And so really that's what Sub 2 community was all about, was how do I dream so big that everybody can individually live inside of that and expand and expand and expand and become their own internal brand. And then at some point lead the entire industry. My vision is every single person in this community has the ability to lead this industry. And, it's amazing what I get to hear when somebody comes to me and says, "Oh, Regina helped me," or "Jeff Smith helped me," or, Sub 2 Drew helped me, or, pulled me into a bathroom and forced me to make a phone call. It is the coolest thing because you guys are living your own visions and going, wow, there's space for me in here and I can expand and stretch my wings, and I'm encouraged to do so. What other real estate community exists like that?
There, that gives the great opportunity what we built here in Houston. Like now, this is something that I think lasts years and years without us being here. Like it's here now. Houston Power Hour. We built this
Yeah,
because building off of like what you're saying, us having been in the real estate game and us having us dream. Like,
Yeah.
and then we build off.
Yeah, because of your vision,
Yeah.
your goals, and you're so inspirational. You cast a massive vision, and people like us, people like me, like I got invited to come to HostCon next year and be on stage. Yeah. But because of the vision that you've created, the person that you are allows me to say, I want to be alongside of people like you,
Right.
and be impactful as well too. Because a lot of what you preach is, hey, you want to impact people. I know you don't like it when people give you compliments. You like it when other people, like leaders, give back to the community.
That's the
And
greatest compliment you could ever give.
is giving back to the community.
Yeah.
So so I think that's really, really good. So what is our question? What's our audience question? Chuka has a question.
What up?
You started out.
I'll repeat the question, but go ahead.
You started out. Kind of answered it. Everybody wants to do everything.
Yeah. So the question is, when you were getting started as a GC, how did you decide to start delegating, and what made you decide to start delegating?
So you guys know what the law of discernment is? I have the law of discernment. You're not interested in being a GC. So your question is not coming from being a GC or any of that kind of stuff. Your question comes from, I'm new. How do I scale and how do I delegate and how do I know who to delegate to and what those tasks are? That's really what your question is, right?
Oh,
Okay, cool.
that's Pace Morby.
Law of discernment. I have the gift of sight and I have the gift of discernment. I can pick people apart and figure things out about them that they haven't even figured out about themselves. But that was a layup, honestly. Okay, so couple of things. This is the locksmith thing, right? It's like the answer is so easy that it's not that magical. It's like just call the locksmith. So here's the answer to your question. How do I delegate? How do I do all of those things? Well, first and foremost, the most important people you want to bring to your team have a get it done button built inside of them. You cannot train that. You cannot, no matter how good your job descriptions are, no matter how good your systems are, if somebody does not have a figure it out, get it done button internally built in them, usually that's built by their DNA or their parents or their church environment or something that happened to them when they were a kid. That baggage that was on them and created trauma that, put that coal through the fire or the pressure that turned them into a diamond, you can't do that. So that's step number one. Remember that. Either people are going to be good or they're not going to be good. That's it. And you give people time to try and figure out, maybe their job description is really intricate and you want to give them some time to figure that out. But if you've given somebody 30 days to figure out their job and you're still questioning whether they're getting their job done or not, they're not the right person. Okay. Now, that being said, there's a lot of little things in your business, especially at a high level, that are not on anybody's job description. And that's why it's so important to have people that have the figure it out, get it done button, because there's so many things that happen in a business. I'll give you a good example. Molly, okay? Molly has very much has the largest button inside of her body is the figure it out, get it done, freaking button, figure out what is missing and fill up in the gaps, right? Those are the people that you need. Okay, great. So when you're first starting out, and I'll tell you this great story about Molly. When I knew Molly was no longer going to be an employee of mine, she was going to be a partner of mine, was this phone call. And it didn't transpire for about 6 months after this that we became partners in another business. But she started out as an employee at $6,000 a month, which, when you're starting out, $6,000 a month, holy shit. That might as well be $1 billion a month. You know what I'm saying? Like $6,000. Oh my God. And that's a mindset by itself of like, okay, you know the story about my first employee? Anna, you know the story. So how much time do we have? Because I could go out long on this. Okay, cool. So these are the important things, okay? So when I was a contractor, I was doing everything myself. So going back to being a contractor, I was doing everything myself because I learned from my parents that that's how you're supposed to do it. Now, my parents didn't sit down with me and go, all right, so here's what it's going to look like. You're going to build a business. You're going to do everything. You're going to wear all the hats. And you're not going to delegate because that sucks. And blah, blah, blah. That's not what they didn't tell me that. I just watched my father run his construction company. I go, oh, that's a successful company that pays for 12 kids backpacks and school supplies and groceries and shoes and all. That's what success looks like. That's what I learned, right? We all have those unspoken lessons we garnered through our childhood, right? So when I started my construction business, it very much came down to I need to work harder. That was the answer. And I would call my dad and I go, hey, I need more money. He'd go, great, work harder. And I go, how much harder can I work? I'm working 6 days a week. He goes, well, sometimes in order to catch up, you got to work Sundays too. I was like, damn, is that really the answer that I want to be getting? Like my whole life is just work harder? Well, it wasn't for another year after that thing. I didn't feel like I had the tools or resources. Like the lack of options is the scariest thing in the world to me, and why I work so hard. If you ever ask yourself the question, why does Pace work so hard? Options. I want options because options equals freedom, financial freedom, right? If I have the option to make money on this or that or this, that, and the other, because I have the skill sets to do that, you could take everything from me and I never feel fear because I know I can go make money. That's true financial freedom to me. So about a year later, after that jarring conversation with my father, I was forced to hire my first coach. My first coach, which I won't tell you the story again. You guys have heard the story, John Bohm. He forces me to hire an employee. And I was like, well, where's the right place to post and what's the right job description? He's like, when you're starting out, you don't even know what you don't know. Just get the worst possible employee. I don't care if they, I don't even care if they can't even spell. I was like, wow, but he's actually right. If I'm wasting a day of my life because I'm trying to find the perfect person rather than trying to have progress, right? Progress over perfection. If you're sitting there trying to be perfect, but you're not actually getting any progress, just hire the person that doesn't even know how to spell, right? So I put an ad out. I literally hired the first person that replies to the ad out of 100 people. I was like, oh, perfect. Hire her. Her name's Anna Martinez. She was in the wrong position all 8 years she was with me. 100% of the time she was in the wrong position. And she was also the wrong person. But when I was starting out, she was in the perfect position because there was no other positions. And anything was better than nothing. And I love Anna. I ended up buying her house and, we love her and she's got a great life and everything else. But she didn't have the skills to do her job, but she did very basic things. It was a very easy lift. In the very beginning of your business, when you're higher level, you hire people. Anybody working a 9-to-5 job where you're like, some of the people at the 9-to-5 job, you're like, what do y'all do here? And like literally, the bigger the company, the more worthless human beings are. It's like the lift that a new employee raises to that company is so minimal. But when you're brand new, you could have a one-eyed, one-armed person that doesn't even speak any language. They will do a better job than nothing. And what Anna did, I hired Anna, $3,000 a month. That could have been, dude, I was making $100,000 a month take home. And I wasn't willing to pay $3,000. It's not whether you have the money or not, because you'll figure out the money. Think about this. If I know I hire a $3,000 a month person base, and all they do is answer the phone, clear out my email, and just clear my day up so I have a little bit more clarity on the day, don't you think I'd make an extra $3,100 a month and I'd make $100 net per month? Okay, really easy. But what Anna did is Anna picked up the phone and she didn't even know what to say, but she picked up the phone, right? 90% of success is just showing up. Anna was showing up by picking up the phone. As a contractor, to put this in a really good perspective, I was physically picking up the materials from Home Depot, loading them in my truck, dropping them off at my sites, communicating with the guys, giving them hugs, dropping off burritos and all the things, and like really building camaraderie with my guys. I would miss phone calls all the time because then I'm in an appointment with a customer and I'm measuring their house and my phone's in my pocket. So another customer calls me and says, "Hey, I saw you on Instagram or I saw you here. I'd like to give you business." I mean, they're not literally saying that, but that's what they're doing. And I don't pick up the phone. The next day you call them back. "Hey, I saw you called me yesterday." What's their answer? "Oh, I called another contractor." So think about the low hanging fruit that even a horrible employee to your organization would at least make sure that those fruit never hit the ground, right? You ever walk into an orchard and you see all these apples just laying on the ground? Those are done, man. Worms have gotten into them. They're all bad. So I have all this low hanging fruit when you're brand new in the business. And the higher you climb, the more expensive it is to get those apples at the very top. But when you're new, it's actually easier. You can hire anybody and just go pick up the phone, clear my email inbox, do anything that saves me 6 hours a week. And now you got a different problem. Okay. Going back to the conversation I had with Jeff. Now you have a different problem. Now you have Anna. Do you know what my biggest problem was with hiring somebody? I thought it was the fear of spending money. It wasn't the fear of spending money. Think about this. It was actually a lack of vision. What do I mean by that? If I magically saved 4 hours a day of my life, I had no idea how I was going to spend those 4 hours. So if I know very clearly where I would rather spend my 4 hours, then the ability to delegate becomes almost a requirement rather than a burden. For me, it was a burden because I'm like, well, then subconsciously, my brain, I hadn't spoken it into an existence, like what I'm telling Jeff. Like, talk about it. Tell yourself this over and over and over and over and over. Then you'll go, wait, but what's keeping me from doing that are these tasks. Okay, that's easy to delegate. So do you have a clear enough vision of where you're going in the next 6 months? Probably not. Even I, who am a visionary and I write things down, I could even spend an extra hour today to be in refine and say, this is where I should spend time instead of this is where I should spend time. If you know where you could spend an extra 4 hours today to get a greater lift in your organization, right? The things that are really impactful for you. Like for me, what's the most impactful thing I could do on a daily basis? Does anybody know? Like if you gave Pace an extra hour a day, what do you think Pace should be doing for an extra hour every day? Raising more money and inspiring more people to come work for me, right? Because that's, for me, content has been the most important thing for content for me has been those two things, raising capital and attracting people to come work for me. Okay. So, well, now I distill it down. Okay. Well, content is the thing I should be doing. Okay. Well, if I distill it down, it's actually getting better at telling stories and articulating something, an idea to another person. Because when I can do that, then people see my vision through my content and they reach out and they go, can I come work for you? Hey, can I give you money? You obviously know where you're going. I want to give you money. Okay, that's where I should be spending more of my time. Now, if I'm doing anything else, it's a burden and I'm doing the wrong thing, right? It's like if you're going to mop your floor, don't you want to mop your floor with clean water? Okay, well, unfortunately, a lot of people are doing the wrong task. They're mopping their floor with mud and they're just making their lives messier and messier. They're doing the wrong things. And so I hire Anna. Anna literally does one thing, picks up the effing phone. And my business tripled in 30 days, tripled. Why? Because people want the phone to be picked up. It's the same thing with deals these guys are working. Time is the number one killer of deals. So it's like, okay, who's doing your follow-up? Who's staying on top of these clients? If you had somebody on your organization doing follow-up only, don't you think you get one more deal a quarter that would make you $12,000? Okay, well, that's $4,000, $4,000, $4,000. That person would break even. But what else could they do for you besides just doing follow-up? Could they clear out your inbox? Could they clean the office? Could they, do your social media posts? What else could they do? That's also the figure it out, get it done button that you don't want people in your organization that are just sitting around waiting for you to tell them what to do, right? So somebody like Molly, this is going back full circle, Quentin Tarantino style, going back to the very beginning of this tangent. I'm in Vegas. I'm with Jamil, Handsome Bobby, Eric, and a couple of other people. We're about to play poker. It's late at night. I just did like a VIP thing. It was at it was at Clever Summit. It's at Clever Summit. You get who went to Clever Summit? Nobody in here? Holy crap. Wow. Okay, so Clever Summit might as well have been Sub 2 Summit, right? It was like 2,000 people were there, 1,400 of them were our community. It was crazy. I stayed out till 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, just in the hallway, getting to know everybody in the community. It was just one of these amazing times. Anyway, I call Molly, and she's probably with my organization 6 months at this point. Okay. Maybe 7. And I call her up. I go, hey, I haven't talked to you in a couple of days. You know, I've been doing the thing and doing the thing and doing the thing. Just calling to check in on these 12 things. And as I go through this list of 12 things, she goes, oh, that's already done. That's already done. That's already done. I'm doing that tomorrow. I have a meeting at 10 o'clock. Boom, 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 boom. And I go, what do you need me for? Yeah. She goes, I need your vision. I need your vision like you need me to do these things. And I'm like, wow. So I get off the phone call. And as I'm getting off the phone call, I go, how much money do we need to raise for the next deal? She goes, we need to raise like $2 million. I go, great. Don't worry. When I get home, we'll raise the money. You know, I'll get on the phones and I'll raise the money. And I get home. Well, after the phone call, I'm sitting around with the boys, and Jamil was like, who is that? I go, oh, that's Molly. He's like, oh my gosh, that is what I'm missing in my business. I'm missing somebody who has the figure it out, get it done button. Like, people sit around and wait, right? You do not want an employee that's just sitting around and waiting. So I get home and I go, all right, let's get to work. Let's raise this $2 million. She goes, oh, the $2 million is sitting in the account already. I already raised all the money. Figure it out, get it done button is built inside of them, and they can push it themselves, right? Make sure it's somewhere they can reach. Like, you don't have to be the one that pushes the button on the back. It's like, if the button is in the very small of their back, they can't reach it. That part where you can't wash your own back or scratch your own itch. Most people's figure it out button is like really small and it requires a pin to push it. Molly's is like on her forehead. She just hits it herself. And so delegating requires you to have vision, because if you have a vision of where you should be going, you know what you should not be doing. Then therefore you know what to get off your plate. And it all starts with vision. So same thing with Jeff. Like, how do I know what to delegate and what not to do? Well, distill it down to the smallest thing. I need more money. I need more deals. I need to recruit more people to build my organization. Great. How does that happen? How does that happen? How does my personality do that? Because other people like Cody Barton, if he says, I need more money and I need more people to come work for me, Cody's thing, his answer is not going to be content and storytelling, because that's not his avatar. His avatar will be, I need to go to masterminds and I need to go meet people and I need to do this and I need to put in an HR request to do this, that, and the other. He's going to do it differently, right? So know thyself, come up with your vision. This is the reason why it's hard, because nobody's going to sit down and go, this is exactly what you should do. I can only tell you what I've done and what's worked for me and what's not worked for me. And then you need to sit down, and all me telling you this should do for you is give you permission to go figure it out yourself. Because you have a figure out button, right? And get it done button. Okay, we'll push it.
Damn button. That $2 million deal, that was.
No, we hadn't had that deal yet. I do have a big deal in Houston. I have a $110 million deal here.
I got a small little house I'm trying to sell.
I know.
I wanted to take you by.
I got a couple of those.
Yeah, I wanted to take you by it because it was a really great story on how Sub 2 really helped this particular person. We'll have to talk about it. Yeah, it's vacant right now. Andrew drove by it a few days ago. It's beautiful. All the rehab's done. Yeah. So, yeah, get that there. All right.
Love Jen.
Jen Baker has a question.
You start to realize your power in your own cycle.
Okay. So when you God, this is such a good question. When you become a leader, do you have the fear that you're going to lead people astray? And obviously, how do you overcome that? Thank you, Jen.
You guys want to hear the honest answer to this? Not the lie? I have ruined a lot of people's lives. And that is absolutely the truth. And I don't say ruined as like, wow, their life is over, but I have absolutely stolen years of their life because I was a poor leader. And unfortunately, that is a cost and a requirement of doing this. And I didn't realize this. I would hire people that I was not equipped to lead. And then I would fire them because they wouldn't do the thing that I wanted them to do, just to ultimately realize I was a poor communicator and I was a this and I was that, whatever. So your personal income will never outpace your personal development. And so when you're in your 20s and you're maybe your early 30s, you blame everybody else. And then later in life, you start realizing, wait, it's 100% my fault. What did I do wrong, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I've had a lot of people. I would tell you, I've probably hired at least 40 or 50 people that either A, I was not prepared to lead, or B, I hired the wrong people and led them for 6 months or a year or 18 months and kept them on the team. In fact, as I'm saying this, I can think of one person I need to probably let go today because I'm either A, not equipped to lead them, or I don't, because you guys know what a direct report is? Anybody in the 9 to 5 world knows what direct report means. I don't typically have people direct report to me because I'm so inconsistent in terms of being able to to get a hold of. You can't get a hold of me. It's hard because I'm doing this, and then I'm walking downstairs, and I'm in a hallway, and then I'm talking to this person. That person wants me to look at them in their eyes. I can't be sitting there looking at my phone the whole time running business, right? So I do different things on a daily basis. So you have to understand that it is a requirement, and you have to understand that entrepreneurship is meant to be hard, and there are moments of stress. And when you hear people have these ambiguous blanket statements of there's long nights and sleepless hours and stress and this, that, and the other. That's what they're talking about. They're talking about the moments of, oh my gosh, this person's not only on my payroll, but this person's banking their entire children's life, their spouse's life on my decisions as a leader. And that is why also 91% of business owners will never scale past a mom and pop operation, is because they're fearful of going through that personal development. So unfortunately, hopefully this doesn't go out to the internet, but I'm going to say it. It will. What's going on the
And, too late.
internet? Yeah. If you're building an email, if you're building, let's say you're building muscles in your leg or your arms based on kicking a bag, right? Like a punching bag or a boxing bag, and you're kicking, you're developing muscle memory, you're developing muscle, you're developing a whole bunch of stuff. So essentially hiring people is the punching bag of personal development. You have to hire people and punch at it and punch at it and punch at it. And you have to hurt your wrist and you have to sprain your ankle and you have to have these problems so that you can fight through and build stronger muscles and stronger tendons and all that kind of stuff in order to overcome and be better for the future. I can lead people way better than I could have a year ago, 10 years ago, et cetera. And I'm piss poor at managing people compared to where I want to be. So it's a game, a journey of self-discovery. So understand that it's a part of the requirement, and that you will have people on your team for 6 months. Now, here's the good side to it. Okay, here's the good side to it. The good side to it is that you are also giving them lessons. Okay, and they're learning things on the job that they can then take to their next job, and they can excel, and they know what to put up with and what not to put up with. And then they go, I can't work with somebody who lacked vision, did not have a clear understanding of the future, whatever it is that you're lacking in your current company right now, Jen. That person is going to learn lessons from you as well. And then when they go and work for somebody else, that person will go, man, where have you been? Oh, I've been working for this idiot and da, 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 da. But what they should be saying is, I've been learning the hard lessons of what I want and what I don't want in a boss. And now I'm ultra grateful for you. What you've done is you've created gratitude in that person for the next person. And what's great is I also hire people that somebody else used as a punch bag, and they come on my team. Like Molly's one of these people, and she comes on my team and she goes, I am so grateful for you because the last organization I was with, guys, it's just part of the game. So even the people that you mislead or you mismanage or you're not ready for, et cetera, they will become superstars in somebody else's organization. And then same thing over on your team. Yeah. 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 Somebody else has to like shine them up, right? Somebody else has to find the diamond in the rough. I've taken the coal and I've beat them up and I've put the pressure on them, whether it's good pressure or bad pressure because I just am a horrible leader. But then that person starts to become a diamond, and that next leader has to shine them up and go, wow, you are unbelievable. Like, look at Molly. She didn't know anything about transaction coordination and creative finance. When she first got hired with me, Molly thought a sub-2 was a scam. Now look at her, right? And so she's been through poor leadership. She's been through bad things in her life that make her ultra grateful for what we are building together. And she says stuff like, "This is the greatest thing I've ever been a part of." But would she be saying that if she was my first hire, or if I was her first boss? No. So guys, it's a part of life. It is required. And so don't stop that. And if you're not ready to lead somebody, just know this is my punching bag, and they're going to go and end up working for somebody else in 6 months. And that's hard because you assume. You guys know who Trevor Mock from Carrot.com is? Carrot, the website building company Carrot. So the owner, his name is Trevor Mock. He said, I go, man, how'd you find your COO? He goes, do you want to know the real answer? I go, yeah. And he tells me, oh, bamboohr.com. I go, yeah, that wasn't magical. Locksmith, right? So the right answers are never magical, but he goes, do you want to know the deep answer? I go, yeah. And he goes, number one, I had to develop myself to a point where people would want to work for me that are quality human beings, because again, without vision, the people shall perish. But here's the real deep answer. I had to interview over 400 people, and I hired 14 people, and I fired 13 to find the one person that you're telling me, how did you find that person? And so many people are avoiding that work. Remember, the magic you're looking for is in the work you're avoiding. And that's the magic. The magic is that nobody wants to do the work. And so if you just get addicted to doing the work, you become the person that's magic. Not that hard. Locksmith. Call the locksmith. Yes. Okay, so when I first started in real estate, what I thought I needed is some guru, awesome guy. And what I realized I needed was a community of people that actually had all the collective resources that I needed, which is why I built a community, not a thing that relies on one person, right? And so I know that's not the answer you're looking for, but I'll give you the answer you're looking for. But that's the true answer. The true answer was I needed a collective group of people that were all part of the same vision and same community, and all had one vision of where we're all going, so that I didn't feel like I was getting snaked and stabbed and all that kind of stuff, which is why I'm so proud of these boys and proud of this team here in Houston, is that you guys are leading an entire city. And in a lot of ways, you guys are like, think about that. You are leading an entire city in the real estate industry. People refer to and defer to you guys. And then there's other people that are sprouting up and going, oh, we want to do Power Hour here. Guys, that is only telling you that your vision is the right vision. The second people stop emulating means that your vision is weak. So anyway, so that besides that, people that I looked up to, in real estate, nobody. Because I knew from a young age in the game, I didn't look up at one person that was like, that's the business I want, because I knew that I had something different than everybody. And that's what's interesting about real estate, is nobody's business in here is identical. And insurance is different, right? Like if I was going to go out and sell insurance, it's like, oh, hey, insurance guy over there across the street, that's my competitor. What are you guys doing? I will do that exact same thing. Like insurance is not that diverse. Real estate is so diverse and fragmented that I can go create what I want, and it's never going to be a duplicate of what somebody else created, if that makes sense. My portfolio is going to look different. My exit strategies are going to be different. My team size and what they're doing on a daily basis will also be different, and it's all created by yourself. I knew that 10 years ago. So I never individually idolized one person. What I do, however, obsess over and want to be around the type of people who are, number one trait is consistent. I understand, if you know the number one trait for success is consistency, then the people you should be hanging out with are also people that are consistent, that are like, oh yeah, I had a bad day last week. I had a bad this, my deal fell apart. Perfect. That's good that I got 5 more deals I'm looking at. Those are the people you want to be around, rather than like, I'm working on one deal, and if this deal doesn't work, I got to leave the business. Oh my God, I'm allergic to those people. They make me break out in hives. So again, and I'll tell you straight up, like the people that are in the influence space, the majority of them, I'm tell you straight up right now, the majority of them are not doing anywhere near as much business as you want to do. You name them, I would behind off the camera, I will tell you who they are. And you would go, really? 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 No, that person? Yep. When these influencers come to my office and they see my team and they see the amount of deals we're doing, they go, "Oh my gosh, like you're actually doing this." I go, "Yeah, isn't that what we're supposed to be doing?" So, the people that I do idolize, are the people who are great communicators. The people who can get an idea across efficiently rather than like they'll go on about an 18-minute thing and I'm like, I don't get the point here, right? My problem is I communicate so efficiently, I give you so many nuggets that it's like, how do I now take these all and put them into implementation? Like what I've given you today is like 10 years worth of hard work you got to go put into not 10 years, but probably 2 years, right? Other people I listen to, I'm like, I've listened to you for 18 minutes. I don't even know where this deal came from. Like, so we're here and this is a deal that one of my students did. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I idolize the people who are great storytellers. Rob Bill is one of those. He's a great storyteller. He can convey an idea, convey a strategy, convey a thing very, very quickly. I idolize those people. And so again, what do I need to do with my time? My time is best served learning how to tell better, efficient stories that are harder hitting so that people like Andrew, I'll go, oh my gosh, that was the unlock I needed for my door. And now what's ironic is I get to be the locksmith for his own doors, right? And I get to open up things in his world. But my storytelling attracts money, attracts opportunity, and attracts people to my organization. So the people I idolize are the people who are great storytellers. And you know who they are. Cody Sanchez is phenomenal. Alex Ramosi, Dean Graziosi, Tony Robbins. And I'm lucky enough to be able to be friends with them and be able to stay at their houses and do deals with them and all that kind of stuff. I'm not lucky. I put in a lot of freaking work. And I cast the vision so large that I spoke it into existence and it's there. And so I deserve to be around those people. But those are the people I idolize. Even though their business has nothing to do with what I want to do, their ability to communicate and get people to understand things is what I need to do. My number one thing I have to work on in my life is how to tell better stories more efficiently. And that's hard too. Because think about this. Anybody in here have a contractor background? Nobody. Okay. You know that when anybody ever mowed a lawn? Okay, you mow a lawn, right? Okay, so you mow a lawn, you know immediately you did a good job or you did a bad job. That's easy, right?
Well, 5 acres
It takes a long time.
with a push mower.
But that's really hard.
That was my mom.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay, so but you got immediate feedback. Storytelling and working on these really powerful skills is not something that you get feedback on for literally years of your life. And so that is, again, be grateful for the challenges and the impossibility of all of this, because you will be. I was telling somebody this morning, they go, "Man, you're the best." I go, "I'm not the best. I've just lasted the longest. I'm not the best." I mean, currently maybe I am currently the best, but it's not because I'm great. It's because I just literally outlasted everybody else, right? People go, "Oh, this is hard. This is challenging. I'm going to give up," right? Nothing we've ever accomplished in life, whether it's marriage, relationships, businesses we've done, houses we've flipped, or skills we've obtained, ever came from easy, light work, right? What did Alex Ramosi say? He said, if we as a room, we're going to create a unique species as a group, we're going to be these gods. And we're going to create a unique species. And we want that species to be able to withstand anything, have ultra patience, be great leaders, this, that, and this perfect human specimen. What would we have to do and take that species through in order for them to become that thing? It probably wouldn't be a chill life. Yet, literally 99% of what human beings are wired to do is to search for and seek out comfort. So if you can fight against that and you can put yourself through that, you become a specimen, you become a species that inside of the human race, it's like, whoa, dude, are you an alien? You're like, no, I literally just did the opposite of what my lizard brain told me to do. That's it. So, and I'm working on this too. I mean, in my 20s and 30s, I had those problems of like, oh, I want to seek comfort and I want to seek this. And then Also, isn't that the point of life, is to like work really hard so you can have nice things? Sadly, the answer is no. The answer is I tell people all the time, I have temporary, I'm temporarily amused, but I'm permanently disappointed all the time. I'm like, oh, I did a thing. Cool. I wrote that book. Oh, cool. That was a thing that I did. Well, I'm constantly disappointed not disappointed. That's probably the wrong word. I'm temporarily amused, permanently motivated, right? To do bigger and better things. And in order to do that, you got to be working on yourself and chiseling yourself out and all that kind of stuff. I'm talking to myself right now 20 years ago. I wish my 20-year-old version was listening to myself right now. Like, go do the hard thing. What do you guys think is the hard thing? Like, think about what's the hard thing in your life you're avoiding right now? And if you're watching on YouTube right now, type it in the side chat. Like, I want to know, what do you guys think? What's the hard thing you're not doing right now? Delegating? Okay. Is delegating the hard thing, or is it sitting down and casting your vision? Because then delegating becomes a lot easier, right? What about you, Jeff?
Yeah, I think right now with the position my business is in, it probably is that delegating of letting go of my closer spot so I can go attack higher level problems. That's currently where I'm at. I imagine most people watching it, the 99% of people, they're searching for their first deals. Probably most of them are asking, I'm afraid of getting on the phone. I'm afraid of saying the wrong thing. I'm afraid of blowing up this deal. I'm afraid of various other things. But the problems grow bigger as you achieve, like, okay, I've solved the problem of, call reluctance, and now I have a new problem to go and solve. So we got teaming up, casting vision, going harder.
Or
Yeah,
going
David
hard-
Goggins,
go-
stay hard.
Just going hard at all. I mean, most people are not like, people are, I need to go harder. It's like, how about just go hard? You don't need to go harder.
I was talking with I do some routine calls with a guy, Creighton Bertrand, who
Love
is great. Creighton does
It's like
great
student
stuff.
number like 41 in sub 2.
Yeah, he was one of the real
Yeah.
OGs, and Creighton and I have been talking a little bit, and I kind of talking him through where I'm at, and the next level up. And what he was talking to me about was, first, what you were discussing was not looking at the world, the universe as, oh, this is all happening to me, this is happening for me, like getting through the fire so you can become that that species we were talking about. And the other thing we were really discussing was how do we push past and identify what I want so that I can push that button of go figure it out. Because I know I was trapped in that. I wanted somebody to just say, here's your step-by-step list, and it doesn't exist. It truly doesn't. Chuka, what's up, man? This is so yeah. So
You know your name?
I've seen it on a ramen package.
Okay.
On a
All
dry ramen.
right. So when you say happy birthday to somebody, you say Sengil Chuka Hamnida.
Oh yeah. What was that yesterday?
Chuka means celebration. Yeah.
like
In
that.
Korean.
Well, yeah, Chuka. Yeah, Chuka Hamnida means like congratulations, like celebrate. Let's celebrate, like that type of thing. So Sengil means
Oh,
your anniversary of your birth.
it's my brother. I know, but is that why?
Sengil Chuka Hamnida. Sengil Chuka Hamnida.
He's the one that does all the meetups.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So Chuka's another one of the guys who's stepped up and is now starting to take on the mantle of creating some of our event spaces.
And he's a former Ninja Warrior.
Yeah, we could tell. We could tell.
Question for Pace. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
I don't know if it's a skill here.
No, no.
But so I'm looking to partner with my dad. Actually, he has some money, and we're wanting to buy some properties. From your experience, which is a better route to go? We're looking to either have him just straight be like a private money lender,
Yes.
or
David, you know what? Come take my chair because you need to get closer.
No, he's good. I can stare you right in your eyes. Okay, so do you want to play big?
like what?
Play big? At some point in your life, do you want to play big? Okay. Having your parents around will make that an impossibility. not an improbability. It will be impossible. Okay. I'll tell you something about parents. This is an interesting thing that I've figured out in my own life. There's a direct correlation with the amount of time I spend with my parents and how little money I make. Okay. Why? Is it because of the time I'm giving them? No, it's because what happens is the dynamic of the relationship is biological. There's a vibration of your neurons and their neurons that's a parental and a child dynamic. And what happens is you will always play a smaller role when you're around your father. Always. Okay. So if you're okay with that, great. But there's a subconscious, there's a vibration, there's a thing. So limit the conversations with your father. Limit the involvement of your father in your business. You need to be a man on your own and stand on your own. And some people go, no, it's different in my relationship. Sure. Sure it is. It's not. It's not any different. I promise you it's not. 3 years later, you'll call me and go, you were right. Private money lender, perfect. Treat him like a lender, communicate with him like a lender, all of that stuff. But when I immediately start hearing people go, I'm going to bring my family members, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. They have how can you reinvent yourself if people have preconceived notions of who you are and what you're capable of? You have to constantly reinvent yourself. I see people even yesterday, they were like, oh yeah, my sister runs this, my brother runs that, my cousin runs that. Literally in a conversation I had yesterday, I go, let me guess, you're having a really hard time scaling, right? He goes, yeah, man, I cast this vision and my team just doesn't want to do it. And I go, because they don't believe it's possible for you. Because they watched you shit your pants when you were a child and they had to change your diaper. And subconsciously, they feel like they're still changing your diaper. They don't even know they're doing it, but I promise you it's happening. Okay. It's like the same thing when I see my sister Landry. You guys know Landry, she works at Batch Leads. So when I owned Batch, I owned part of Batch for a while, and then I sold out like 2.5 years ago. And a lot of people don't know that. I never talked about it. And when we were having a partnership meeting, the team was like, hey, we need a really good person. I go, look, let me tell you something. The people in my family have a figure it out button. If I bring my sister in here, they're like, yeah, bring her in here. I'm like, one condition. She never reports to me. She never communicates with me. I don't want to have anything to do with her. I want to avoid her if I come in the office. They're like, why? And I told them the same thing I just told you. I go, bro, in my mind, my sister will always be 12 years old to me. I can't fix that. She's 24. She's married. She's got her own house. She's got this life she's living. But in my mind, I can't help but think of that girl as 12 years old. And that's not fair for her. Somebody else needs to be her direct report. So same thing with you. And the other side of that too is if I'm raising money from my friends and my family, that means that I'm being lazy. There's a lot of people out there with a lot of money, and you're robbing yourself from having relationships with them because you're going to the easy button, which is, let me just call my dad. So if that's going to get you started and you got deals, then great. But what I would rather do is I would rather go, how do I go get $100,000 in capital from people that don't know who I am? And then I can invent myself to be who I want to be. And nobody's going to tell me what I can and what I cannot do. People don't know you. Go meet them and they'll lift you up to a higher version of yourself. It's really weird how that works. And don't rob yourself from future relationships. If you go take money from your father, you've just stolen a relationship from yourself from somebody else that you should have gone out and done the hard thing, which is pick up the heaviest object on the planet, which is your phone.
Well, he was reaching out to me. Hey, help me put it to work so I can start earning.
Yeah, maybe that's different. Just don't rely on that. And honestly, if my dad asked me, hey, can I put money? My dad's the opposite. My dad asked me for money. But I see other people, if I see people go, hey, can I put money in your deal? Bro, it changes the way everything works in your family when you mix money and family. What if the deal falls apart? You got to see him at Thanksgiving. Like keep your family, don't shit where you eat. Just don't. And at some point, like even with my wife who loves real estate and she's really, really great at everything. Like, oh my gosh, my wife is in a lot of ways better than me. What I found is the role that my wife really wanted to be in was not being in my business because it didn't sour the relationship, but it was just like she doesn't have an identity away from me, right? So it's like even my wife, my kids, my this, that, and the other. Your father needs to have an identity away from you, and you need to have an identity away from your father. And what you're doing is you're bringing two worlds together and you're gluing them together. And if your dad's like, I got money, perfect, bro. You got enough people in the sub 2 community got money. What do you need your dad's money for?
Also to help him out so you can.
That's not your job.
Yeah.
It's not that relationship.
Do you, here's the thing too, is like, do you have the deals to deploy that capital? Okay, I would spend all your time and energy hunting and then go into the sub two community and goes, who has money for these deals? Don't worry about your dad's money. Just say, Dad, I probably can't help you. I would tell you, I would distance myself from that. This is my own advice. Remember, take everything I say with a grain of salt, because my own trauma, my own bullshit, my own stuff is my own. And a lot of my advice will come from that. So you have to take it, you have to take those things into consideration. But have you ever seen people become more deca millionaires that like took parents from or family money and that worked out for them? Usually people are like, oh, what's the number one rule of business? Don't work with family. And you're like, well, mine's different. Right? So my suggestion is, guys, remember this too. Every deal we think is about the cash flow. We think it's about the appreciation, the depreciation. We think it's about all these things. And to a certain degree, yeah, I guess it kind of is. But every deal really is the lubrication for us to obtain three things: resources, relationships, and skills. And what skill did you learn if you didn't have to go and raise money for a deal, if you just took money from your father? You robbed yourself not only from a relationship of a future private money lender that will probably bring you deals in the future, because your dad's never going to bring you a deal. Okay. And by the way, has anybody helped a family? Think about, isn't it interesting to think differently? You are robbing yourself from a future relationship because you're taking money from a family member. And then also, has anybody ever done a favor for your family that worked out? No good deed goes unpunished. And so what you're going to do is you're going to go, I'm going to help my father. Great. Help him by not getting involved with his money.
It's hard because it's a low hanging fruit. And
Yep.
It's right there.
Yep.
Offering it on a platter.
Human beings choose the path of least resistance 99% of the time. So you're choosing the path of least resistance. And what you're really doing is avoiding the skill of finding a new private money lender, the relationship from that private money lender, and then also the resources that private money lender has. Think about this. What resources does your dad have that can help you besides money? Probably not much. He's not going to go out and find a deal.
With other-
Maybe. But that's in the community too. What I want is I want private money lenders that also have access to deals and opportunities that I don't have access to, right? They're the link to the next deal for me. So your dad, you're going to be like, Dad, I did you a favor. Dad, I did this to help you. Has anybody found themselves in that exact conversation with a family member? Like, I did this to help you. Well, why are you mad at me? Boom. There you go. So you now have your answer.
And we'll end on this. Thanks for the great time, Pace. So you talk about you're on phase 8 of 26, and you've mentioned that multiple times. Us as leaders, we want to help, make that path a little bit more easier for you. So when we get to that point, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 5 years from now, whatever it is, you've mentioned multiple times in your Zooms, you talk about, what does your perfect day look like 20 years from now? So talk to me about that. Paint me a vision of what is year 20? What's that perfect day look like for Pace Morby?
For me personally, or for me inside the community?
For you.
Okay, so for me, I'm a tractor. Okay. I'm not meant to be in the barn. I'm meant to be in the field. And you don't buy a tractor to put in the barn. Right? It's like I see a lot of women that will, sorry, I'm not talking about these women. But I'll see a lot of women that will be like, my husband works so much. I was like, then you shouldn't have married a tractor. She married a freaking broken down Pinto that was never meant to work, right? We are all meant to work. We're all tractors. You don't keep a tractor in the barn, you put the tractor to work. You put it out in the field. I'm going to be plowing, planting seeds just like I do every single day, but it'll be at a different, higher level. And then for me, the way the vision unfolds in my mind is that our community is all over our community. Here's the interesting thing. Okay. Mentorships will be gone in 7 years. Why will you need a mentorship if AI can answer any question you could ever have? You don't need that. Right. So I see a lot of people like, I'm going to go start my own mentorship. I'm like, good luck with that. Right. Information is a commodity. What do people really need is they need human connection.
And so in my vision, I go, all right, great. We're still in the information age right now, but in about 5 years, and I've seen this for years, in about 5 years from now, information, it's like you won't even need a book, right? It's like, hey, ChatGPT, like anybody have ChatGPT on their phone? Oh my gosh. Anything you want to know. In fact, I'll go, I was writing somebody a text message. It was like a little aggressive. I copied it and pasted it in ChatGPT and I said, make this less aggressive. Boom. Copied, pasted.
I've done that more than a handful of occasions.
Okay. So like, right. So think about this. What is the thing that I should be doing is more physical things with our community. So like, look at community camp. Who went to community camp last year? Wasn't that like the most insane thing? So it wasn't even talking about real estate. It wasn't doing anything. It was like picking cherries. It was going fishing. So I'll be doing a lot more of living life with the community, fishing trips. Let's go visit this person's office. What I see happening in the next probably 3 years is offices where a Jeff Smith has an office full of people hammering out phone calls, and I get to come and hang out at his office for a couple of days and go, hey, this is amazing. The community comes in and they're all trying to apply to be in his office or whatever it is. And I go, man, how much time are you spending here? He goes, I don't know, 4 hours a week, maybe. Right. And I can then jump to Atlanta and I see Eddie Charger, or Abraham Gray has a physical location that people do the meetup and they have a stage and they have a thing and they're like, I see our community actually leading the charge in the physical element that this real estate industry needs, because you'll have less information. Like nobody will be selling coaching in 7 years. It's not going to be a thing. And that's why when I built the community, I was like, I don't want any money from it. Josiah, you take all the money from it. That's not the clear vision. The vision is this has to build a community of people that are so like-minded that they all build their own geographical like pods and they lead. I mean, think about how many people are in Houston. You could work your entire life just saying, I want to be one of 15 or 20 people that lead Houston, and you wouldn't even scratch 10% of people in Houston will ever even know who you are. The ocean is so big for us. It is so vast. And then also think about all the vacant properties, all the probates, the foreclosures. How many people in Arizona get foreclosed on every day? 3. So that means that the community is not hammering those hard enough and not saving enough people. And so I look at it, I'm like, our community should be the single most important element in the real estate industry for stopping foreclosures, helping people through probate, getting people through estate issues, tax liens, all that kind of stuff. Like literally, our community should be a one-stop shop. In fact, one time in my vision, I was thinking, I fly to Houston and I go to Jeff Smith's one-stop shop. And consumers, homeowners know, oh man, if I run into trouble, I just go to the one-stop shop. They'll help me through any little problem I have. Right. So I see our community going that direction, and there's a lot more physical location or physical requirements needed for that to become a thing. Power Hour is the very beginning of it. And I can tell you the second things become hard and challenging is when most people quit. And so what you guys are going through with Power Hour and what you guys are happening on Saturdays is like, man, this is a lot of work. And we're doing a lot of work. We're sacrificing times on Saturdays. We're doing like, I could go on for 45 minutes or more about all the things that you guys have done, sacrificed, removed from your life to make this a focal point. I know it because I've been there. I know exactly what it requires. The challenging thing is it requires that to be done for a long period of time. Otherwise, it just fizzles away. And so you have to get to a point where you have a physical location that is owned by you. Okay, Matthias is working on this in Ohio because I shared the same thought process with Matthias. You need to have a warehouse where you have a lending business inside of it, you have a title business inside of it, you have an acquisition team inside of it, you have a flipping team inside of it, you have a stage inside of a warehouse where you have all the community events at, and you're like, dude, this is a whole entire one-stop shop for everything that we do. Real estate is all in one building. And if you really think about it, I'm just casting a vision that maybe you do or don't do, but you'll end up having 10 different businesses inside of real estate, right? So why not have a building where like each one of you guys run each one of those businesses and there's a partnership, a collective partnership over that one building, and say, we're the one-stop shop for this whole entire area of Houston. We lend all the money. We manage, we even have a construction business. So every fix and flipper you wholesale a deal to, you go, we'll manage the construction for you too. Think about how big that becomes.
We actually had that conversation.
Yeah.
We It also had a
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah. This is what I'm saying. Like, think about, you get a warehouse and you get a cool place where everybody can meet up and link up, and people that join the community or people that come through, they just know about your guys' Houston Power Hour, whether they're in the community or not in the sub 2 community. They show up and they go, "Hey, Jeff. Hey, Drew. Hey, everybody, can I make calls?" Yep. We've got 3 desks that are open every single week for tryouts. You sit there right now. There's a list already sitting there. You pick up the phone, you start dialing. You may or may not make it, but those desks are always open. You just have a constant revolving door of people coming through to apply to come and work for you guys, because you're known as the people in town that just dominate Houston. There you go. The sub 2 mansion with Marlon Johnson, just so you know, I go, man, you should have bought a building. You should have bought a building. You should be doing events there, meetups. You should be doing all sorts of things there. You should partner with a hard money lender or start lending money on your own and just doing little things there. No, be known as the people that can get any deal done. I'm a wholesaler. I'm a real estate agent. I'm a whatever I am. I go to that one-stop shop and you guys have everything that I need. That is a great vision to have for your entire state. Think about just Houston alone. It's impossible for you to succeed at the highest level and for you to even touch 10% of how big the city is. And you guys can do it. And you're there. But Power Hour is the beginning of that, right? It's the stepping stones into a big building, big opportunities, everything else. Like, if I come into Houston, well, I should be getting my money. I should be getting my deals from you. I should be getting my money from you. And I should be getting my construction from you. And then when I refinance, I should also get my money from you. Like, think of who makes the most money in real estate for the hour. Exactly. For the hour I put in, for the dollar I get out, it's lending. So you have to do the thing to build up the notoriety, to have the consistency for people to go, I want to borrow money from them. There you go.
10,000 square feet, 7 bedrooms.
Yeah.
It's been manifested.
You- Yeah, we've been manifesting sub 2 mansion, sub 2 warehouse for a while, so we're gonna do
I love
that.
it.
Yeah. Hey, thanks so much for coming, hanging
We
out
didn't
with
even talk
us.
about creative finance. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is
Yeah. What is creative finance? If that's your question, you need to reach out to us at sub 2. Please follow us, subscribe. We've got some other amazing guests coming up, but Pace Morby, everybody in the house with us. Thanks again for all the time and all the support. That is it for this episode of Power Hour Podcast. We will see you next time.